Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the GM PowerTorque, the GM 6179 on O'Reilly's. This is a 3/8 inch, I would say intermediate length handle, flex, super slim or low profile, quick release, reversible ratchet with locking indexing. So it's a flex head ratchet. It indexes because it's kind of like it has a ball detent in there, but it actually has a lock button. So these locking head flex ratchets have been popular in recent years. It just took me a real long time to finally catch that bus. These types of ratchets, you know, from like Snap-on, the real professional grades, even Gear Wrench, tend to be pretty darn expensive, you know, easily, you know, $40, $50. It's really pretty surprising. So this thing, for whatever it was, like 25 bucks, is a pretty good price. We can see the manufacturing is pretty decent. They do use a screw instead of it being permanently riveted on the hinge, so you can rebuild it if you need to. It's pretty evenly drilled, which is always nice to see. Pretty nice fit and finish. It is 80 teeth, and it is reversible. The one caveat is, being a slim head, it's kind of engineered like a ratcheting box wrench, and that it cannot be rebuilt. When they assemble it, the ratchet pawl is actually what holds it all together. And it's kind of a one-way system. So I did want to mention that. It does have a nice quick release. It really does have a nice amount of protrusion, and it actually really holds it pretty well. So I do like that. The button is flush with the top, although the reverse lever does stick out a little bit. It's less than the button for the indexing. And this is just locked, so very handy in many situations. Oftentimes when you're using a flex head ratchet, you'll have some type of a socket on there, and you'll be trying to reach in a kind of an awkward situation where you may not be able to hold the head of the ratchet, and you're trying to get it on the fastener, and the ratchet head keeps flexing away from you. And so that's really the big deal about these locking flex heads, is that you can set it to a specific angle. So with one of these, you can set it at the angle. This has 6 positions in each direction, a total of 12 indexing points at every 15 degrees. So when you have it tilted down, that's 15 degrees, 30 degrees, etc. And then because it's locking, this head won't push away from you. And so these can actually be quite handy in a lot of situations. I mean, especially common jobs such as starters and transmission bolts, all that kind of stuff. Plus, many modern engine bays are extremely crammed. It does have a very thin head, I will mention that. Before I get into that, I should mention that it does have a bit of wobble. I know like the Snap-ons are a bit tighter when it comes to the indexing, but it is a pretty solid mechanism. We know that if we get right in a in-between point, if we can just get it to cooperate, we can see how it'll actually prevent that lock button from popping out until we actually get to an index point. So that shows that it really is a pretty good system, meaning there's some wear compensation in there for as you use it. I was going to mention with these slim head ratchets, they don't really make a whole lot of sense with standard link sockets, because you only gain just a little bit of extra space or lose a little bit of height. These ratchets really are best matched with these low profile sockets. Then you get a significant difference in height compared to a standard ratchet. So as far as how thin this is, it's definitely significantly thinner than what would be considered a standard thickness pair head ratchet. Compared to something that like this proto quick release round head ratchet, it's crazy. I mean, the whole length of just the ratchet itself is like half the size of that proto. Even with the gear wrench here, we have the gear wrench 84 tooth, which are gear wrenches are known for being low profile heads. People really like them, and this is still significantly lower, maybe 3/16 of an inch. So maybe almost 1/8 of an inch. If we do another comparison here, let's put on, these are both 14mm sockets. We'll put on the low profile socket there, put this standard link socket on a standard pair head ratchet, and we can see that it is at least 30%, looks like 35% shorter, so it's way, way shorter. Obviously, this ratchet can get into a much tighter space. It isn't as heavy duty as the Duralast. I'm sure that this ratchet would strip out the mechanism before it sheared the anvil, but it's going to be pretty strong. It's going to be reasonably strong for what you expect from a real low-profile ratchet. You have to get big, heavy-duty ratchets if you really want them just to take all the abuse. That being said, man, that could just save you a huge amount of time and effort just being able to get a ratchet this small into such super tight spaces. And just for hilarity, here's that proto. And, I mean, oh my goodness, it's less than half the height. I mean, this is crazy. This is like a ratchet with a deep well on it. It is so tall compared to something like this. So, let's see if it actually can beat the Pepsi challenge. So, a long time ago, I did a review of these Pittsburgh Pro long handle. These are like ratcheting box wrenches. They have two sides. I pulled off the other side to use as a thumb ratchet. And these have been, for a long time, my very thinnest low-profile ratchets. We can see that the ratchet head is just about the same size on both of these. Let's take a measurement with the socket on the ratchet and see how close we really are here. So with the Pittsburgh and the low-profile socket, if we just go across the top, we've got 1.142 inches, or 29.01 millimeters. And if we do the same thing here, one thing I kind of do like about quick release is being able to push the button and just have the socket fall off. It is handy in many situations. Now for this, 1.142. Oh, 1.146. So that's significantly 29.08, so almost 29.1. The Harbor Freight with the short socket beats it by almost 5/1000ths of an inch. That's surprising. So still on the hunt for something that will be still shorter than this. And this is only a few thousandths more compact than this ratchet, but nonetheless it is. So it's kind of interesting to do that measurement. Anyway, I think it's a pretty neat little ratchet for being sold at a local auto parts store. It feels pretty nice. I don't have any issues with it skipping or wanting to self-reverse, which I seem to have a surprising number of ratchets, including this Proto, that likes to self-reverse. I guess the only thing you would really worry about on these locking flex heads is just getting into a situation where you end up prying on the handle. I'm sure you would blow out the teeth on that little mechanism with putting on too much force, and you may not even know it. You're just trying to really pull on a bolt, and you end up pulling hard this way as you're trying to pull up. You just got to try to remember to angle the ratchet a little bit differently if you're in those situations. Anyway, I'll end this review here. I just thought this was a kind of a neat little tool and wanted to share it with you guys. I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.